Hello and welcome to Drive and Double Feature Podcast. I'm Nathan,
I'm Ryan.
and this is a podcast where we talk about two movies a week every Tuesday and Thursday. But before we get into this week's movie, I want to talk to you about our Patreon. If you head over to patreon.com/Drive and Double Feature Podcast, you get a bunch of bonus content over there. The long-awaited James Bond rankings. I promise they'll come to you one of these days. And that's over on Patreon for $5 a month. But no main show content is locked behind there. But let's get into today's movie. Today we are talking about Dirty Harry from 1971. This is my new series. We're going to talk about the Dirty Harry movies, which I have almost no experience with. I've only seen the very first one before, but they've always been interesting to me because, like, there's not many sequel movies that don't have numbers in the name or no connection to the last. It's not like Dirty Harry: Sudden Impact. It's like different things. Every movie is also directed by a different director, so I feel like you get different perspectives across the way. So I don't know. I thought it'd be fun to dig into, especially because I know you're a huge Dirty Harry head, right, Ryan?
Well, yeah, I always love Harry because he's always like a real big stickler for the rules.
Yeah,
And
you don't see
like
that enough in
uh,
cop movies.
yeah, every time like people start getting like some rogue ideas, he like busts out his rule book and he says, actually that's against code 64597.
All
And
right, you sure you want to jump on the bus? I don't think you're allowed to do that. You might hurt your leg, okay? That bus is moving under the bridge. It's my favorite scene from
yeah,
the movie.
I like it when they'd have like a 20-minute uninterrupted scene of him doing paperwork. Like,
Yeah, exactly. I feel like this brings a more realistic portrayal of of the way cops
yeah.
act. Well, maybe. I don't know. But no, yeah, Dirty Harry is just probably one of the most famous movie characters, even though I wouldn't say a ton of people have seen it, but everybody knows Dirty Harry. It's just like one of those iconic roles. And I remember watching this when I think I was 13. I checked it out of the library when I was really getting into movies. I was just checking out a ton of movies, and I watched this one, and I remember really liking it. So it
You're
was
like,
fun to go back
ooh.
to. Yeah, it made me want to be a cop and not follow the rules. Imagine like my dreams to become a cop, and then you become a cop, and then you're like, I don't want to do it like you guys. I want to break the rules. You just get that power.
I want to do do all the proper steps to becoming a cop and then not be that.
Yeah, exactly. And then just
Ah,
be like a crazed lunatic with a gun. Uh,
yeah.
but no, I think Dirty Harry is interesting because he is a cop, but he doesn't play by the rules. There's so much of an archetype here that from this point on kind of like fed in the mini cop movies after it. And I guess what I find interesting about this movie as well is that the killer in this movie, Scorpio, because it is basically Dirty Harry versus Scorpio, is based off of a real life serial killer. It's based off the Zodiac killer. They say that, but I guess if you know the Zodiac killer, they're honestly not the
I was
same.
about to say like Zodiac Killer did not do like any of this stuff.
Yeah, and he wasn't, and like this guy lets himself be known. The Zodiac killer was all about covering his tracks, hiding his face and everything. But they say that it's based off the Zodiac killer. But it's honestly he has more in common with the sniper. You remember that one from a while ago? Um,
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because that's how he does it, and we see that at the beginning of the movie is we see him aiming down his sniper rifle and he kills a woman in the pool, and that kind of gets the ball rolling because Dirty Harry shows up, checks out the dead body, and then uh-oh, he left a little track, and it kind of is set up like the Zodiac because Scorpio kills Scorpios, but also he doesn't like Catholic priests, or at least that's what, or just Catholics in general, and just sends that out. But here's the thing: why would Dirty Harry care? Later in the movie, he literally says, "I hate everyone."
Yeah.
Yeah, like I what a scene because like it's crazy to think that it kind of reminds me of Joe in a way where like in the 70s movies like this with people that just like full of hatred say racial slurs and stuff, it was almost
Yeah.
like, oh, wow, I see myself in that character. He's the common man here.
well, like they make it okay by being like, no, no, he hates everybody, so it's okay. Like
But he
that,
ruins
like,
it in the end because he says, "I especially hate Mexicans."
yeah. Well, I mean, that one was like to get under that guy's skin.
Yes,
I think
yeah,
it wasn't like he actually felt that way,
yes,
um,
it's true.
but
It's true.
yeah, like that type of stuff was just like applauded back then. Like, if you think of like All in the Family, because that was the 70s where it was just
Hmm.
like that guy just being like completely like racist and everything, and everyone's just like, "Ah, it's funny." Like,
He's just like my dad. It's so
yeah.
cute.
So, but yeah, it was. I don't know. Like that was just kind of like another way of like counterculture, where it was just like, it's like no, like he's like because you could almost make like a cop movie like this today, like in
Hmm.
theory, like
You
just
could.
be like this cop, he's not playing by any woke rules, like,
You could, and it would be like it would be like
like,
under the what's his name? Ben Shapiro's like his production
yeah,
company.
yeah,
Um
we're just like, it's just like, oh, we're gonna fire you because we have a new diversity hire or something, and
yeah.
they're just like, oh my God.
That's like the Death
Just
Wish remake.
yeah,
The diversity hires can't run the police station. This is a joke, by the way.
yeah,
Yeah.
this is a joke. This is a
Yes.
joke. We don't
Yeah.
actually believe this, but
No, no, but that does
I,
sound about right.
but no, this movie did spawn like a ton of copycats though,
Hmm.
where it was just like, I mean, we've talked about some even like Cobra, where it was just
Yeah.
a cop who like very much stands out of his way, but like that's the whole thing. Like everyone is playing by the rules, and he wants to be the one that kind of he just wants to get results done. Like kind of like
Hmm.
that one movie we talked about, Violent Cop, like the
Hmm.
Japanese one.
Yes, yeah.
Right. It's just he's got all these people that are these huge sticklers for the rules, where it's basically just like these people are violent killers.
Hmm.
And I mean, they people are doing their due diligence by basically saying, like, no, these people are entitled to a free trial, like they're entitled to a fair trial, they're entitled to, innocent until proven guilty type of thing. And he was
Hmm.
just like, no, screw them. Like I can very clearly see they're
Hmm.
guilty, and I'm going to issue my own punishment to them right then and now.
Yeah, and I mean, it appeals to a certain crowd because even though he is a cop, it feels like vigilante justice in a way. The system around him is broken in his eyes, and he gets to dismantle it a little bit. And I feel like I feel like there's definitely a crowd that could get into that because like you said later in the movie, there's some evidence that causes a criminal to get right out of prison because they did a search without a warrant, and they can't use that evidence in court.
They even talk about one of his prior incidences where
Hmm.
they were talking about, they're like, like they were using like it as it against him. They're like, you shot a man in cold blood, Harry.
Hmm.
Like, don't pretend like, you're on thin ice basically here. And, Harry was just like, well, obviously that guy was trying to rape the woman. And they're
Hmm.
like, well, can you prove his intent? And, basically, he's basically saying like, well, the guy was naked and running at her with a knife. And it's just like, usually that's pretty much like an intent enough for me type of thing.
Exactly. And and in some way you agree with that. And like you understand this character. And I think that's what's cool about at least Clint Eastwood playing this character. It's definitely full on machismo. I'm a man and this is what I take care of business. But Clint Eastwood, no matter how you think about him in real life, he does have a personality and he does have a way of performing. And it does make Dirty Harry a very intriguing character, at least in this entry. I don't know how it goes from here because I know things change a lot, but you understand where he's coming from in a way. Not that you necessarily agree with it, but you get it in a way.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you don't really like you don't ever get to see like there's no big like exposition dumper. It's like, oh, let me tell you my story. Or
Yes.
there's never a part that's like that. It's just you gotta get the sense that he's been doing this for a really long time.
Hmm.
And I guess he was used to doing the police work like a really certain way where, he didn't have to go through all this legal red tape.
Hmm.
And he's just kind of got to the point where he's just fed up and he's just like, oh, I'm just going to do whatever I want type of thing
Hmm.
because nobody else is going to stop me. But, he's just very mentally worn out by like all these legal proceedings now and like all these rules he has to play by. And they even mention like he was married at some point. They don't ever say like what happens to his wife, I don't
Hmm.
think. Because they're just like, oh, yeah, make sure you get your wife. And they're just like, oops, I mean, sorry, type of thing.
Hmm.
And they don't say like, which to implies that something really bad happened to her.
It,
Um,
yeah. So,
so it just adds like an air of mystery to the character where it's like you can kind of get like glimpses of why he's like that, but they don't fully tell you the reason.
Exactly, and I think it works for the movie. But yeah, so what happens is he gets dug into this Scorpio case, and he honestly becomes like this guy's number one enemy really fast. Scorpio is more about getting revenge on this guy than like anything else. Before we move in too far, let me say one thing: the score in this movie incredible. It's a very jazzy score with a lot of drums and like that for opening scene where he's looking through the sniper rifle and it's just playing jazz. Very, very cool soundtrack.
Yeah, very good.
Yes.
Um, and
Um,
I do like a lot of some of the shots in the movie too, like from like the rooftop shots and like
yeah. No, I
yeah,
totally agree. Because I was thinking the same thing. It's very it's very different. It's not static. There's a lot of shots on the ground, a lot of moving shots. It doesn't feel like a documentary, but it kind of has the same style. It has shots of like a gross, dirty city, and it's really in your face with it. I can
yeah.
appreciate that. Um, but we get taste of Dirty Harry, just a troublemaker. The mayor, he has a talk with the mayor, and like he hates the mayor because things are going too slow, and they don't want to tell people about it. And I forgot how early in this movie, he says his famous like, "Do you feel lucky, huh?" So like, that whole line, which is it's great. It's good stuff because it's a shootout in front of a bank. It's kind of comes out of nowhere, and he's just holding the gun up, and the guy just could reach for the shotgun, and it's almost like he's taunting him, like, "Grab that shotgun so I can murder you right here."
Yeah, and that one's like a good scene too because that's the other thing about this movie is while the main plot is the Scorpio killer,
Hmm.
there's like these little like almost vignettes of like him doing like regular police work.
Yeah, it's like to get like an idea of how he works just doing like other stuff. Because he said
Yeah,
that because him and Chico, who is his new partner, Chico the whole time was like, "Oh, I wonder why they call him Dirty," or "This is why they call you Dirty, huh?" But like later on, Dirty Harry's like, "Well, I can tell you why they call me Dirty because I do all the dirty jobs around here." Because he pretty much that's how it is. They're just like, "Oh, Harry, go do this. Harry, go talk the jumper down."
yeah.
Which is such a silly scene in that movie. Because I mean, like maybe it's because in the '70s it's a little more out, like a little more like fresh. But he's up there and the guy's about to jump. He's like, "Come on, you're not gonna do it. Make sure don't vomit on the people
Eh,
down
yeah.
there."
He's like, oh, if you're gonna throw up, like don't like please don't throw up. Like you're gonna throw up on all those innocent people down there. They're just like and he's like, hey, if you're gonna jump, like just at least tell me your name. Because like I mean
we
you're gonna make a big mess. It's gonna be really hard to identify you. And then like the guy like just like tries to attack Harry and then Harry just like knocks him out. Just like
Mhm. Yeah,
instead
just like and then he like jumps and like yeah, hold like that like they hold he has to hold this guy the whole trip down.
yeah, because he knocks him out. Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean like and that's the thing, like he doesn't care about how he's gonna do it, but he is going to end up doing, I guess, what he feels is the right thing. Um but yeah, another funny scene, or eventually he does track Scorpio down after a long trip with him and Chico in the car in the city, and they're like pointing people out. I think that's great. But he does get him, but of course, none of the evidence is usable because he got him in an illegal manner. And we've already talked about that scene, but I think it's a very good scene of him just being talked down to by like somebody who studies law and just being told like everything you've done is wrong.
Yeah.
And he's just pretty much like, well, screw this then. And Scorpio gets out. And first thing we see him do is watching children on a playground, which I would be like, oh God, I don't want it.
Yeah.
We figure out why he does that later, but I can't believe the scene where he pays money to have someone beat the crap out of him. That is crazy. Where like, so could you imagine just getting paid to beat the crap out of someone?
Like if somebody came up to you, Nathan, and like they handed you $500, or they're like, just beat the shit out of me. Like, would you?
Yeah, that's $500 just to be, and they want to be beat up, you know. Maybe I would want a contract saying that I'm allowed to do that, that I could get signed on, but that's weird though. Like, is that even legal, even if a contract signed? Because like there's like that court case of the guy who wanted to be eaten alive by someone and they agreed to it, but then like
Yeah.
that wasn't
Didn't hold up in
okay.
court. Yeah.
No. But yeah, sure. If I could, why not? You saying you wouldn't?
Yeah, I would.
Yeah, yeah. But he gets beat up. Like his face, like
Well,
put like
well,
prosthetics on it.
well, yeah, like because he's like taunting the guy beating him up too, because the
Hmm.
guy's black and he's like saying all these racial slurs.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
and then like even at the end, like he like laying there like all bloody and beaten, and the guy just like kicks him one more time. He's like, that one's on the house.
Yeah. And I think that's good. And then I love that after it, he's like this cop Harry Harry
Like
beat me up, and like everyone just takes it at like face value, like, oh yeah,
they're
he
just
would
like,
have done it.
yeah. And
But I like how he doesn't deny it either, really. Harry just kind of like, all right, he said that, you know, but like, of course, everyone's like accusing him, and we know he didn't do it. But he gets to stay on because he does well, I guess we skipped over the whole thing where he kidnapped the the 14-year-old, right?
well, yeah, that one where he like, well, that was like the whole reason, like, why he got let go in the first place is
Yeah.
that he was kind of sending Harry on this really wild goose chase where it was
And
just kind of
yeah.
like, where he was just like, okay, go to this phone booth at this time. And, like you got 10 minutes to get there or something. And like
Mhm.
Harry would be like sprinting or like taking the
Yeah.
bus or whatever.
And honestly, that could be a whole movie because I really like these parts where it's like dark and he's just running around San Francisco, just trying to get to the next thing. There's that scene where the guy's in the phone booth or like their phone's ringing in the phone booth, and Harry's like, no, stop, don't answer that, don't answer that. And of course, the old guy answers the phone and almost ruins everything. Um, but yeah, basically that all goes to hell because Scorpio just says, "No, I'm going to kill her anyway." And then Chico, who wasn't supposed to be following, pulls out a gun and tries to shoot him, and then Harry loses another partner, and you could tell that he really cared for Chico.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, because even after that, Chico's kind of like, maybe I'll try this teaching thing out. It's like,
Exactly. Yeah. He's even like, "Hey, I'm done being a cop." Because that's another thing is Harry always loses his partners. His one from before is still in the hospital from something he did.
yeah,
Um,
he's like, oh yeah, because they're like, well, what's wrong with what's his face? And they're just like, he's in the hospital in a coma right now.
Could you imagine getting assigned as a partner to this man? Uh,
Yeah,
but basically he gets fired and he has to take it into his own hands. And Scorpio, I guess he wants to leave the country, so he kidnaps a bunch of kids on a school bus, which I guess inspired a real life crime. Like somebody in Australia actually kidnapped a school bus of children because they saw this movie. So movies do rot the
did they
brain,
get away?
people. They did not get away, no. And I don't think any of the kids died or anything. But he does kidnap the school bus, and this is where Dirty Harry goes full action star mode. I forgot that he jumps on the bus like as it goes under an underpass. Love that scene because like the bus is driving and he's Dirty Harry on the bridge, and he's like oh, what is he doing here? Oh my God. Like it's like some like phantom or something chasing him down. Um, but that scene's funny because he just that Scorpio in this movie, I think he does a really good job. What's that actor's name?
Michael Shannon.
Michael Shannon, no, that's not it. Andy Robinson. I think he's great because he's just like a weird looking dude in general, but he's just
Yeah.
acts insane. He's like slapping a kid around because he's not singing singing Mary Had a
Mm,
Little Lamb, I think is what they're singing.
row, row, row your
Row,
boat.
row, row, boat. Yes, yeah. And you just like slapping him, like you gotta sing. Um,
Yeah, what and even like the bus driver is like a woman, she's like, you couldn't hit the children, you're scaring them.
yeah. And I think the ending of this movie is so good. It from what I remember, because I had forgotten a lot about this movie, I remembered the whole ending of this movie with the chase between him and this like it's like a steel mill or something, some kind of factory. And it ends with Scorpio is holding a gun to a kid's head, threatening to shoot the kid, and then Harry just shoots him. Doesn't even
Yeah.
care about the kid getting shot. Just like and and he delivers the great line again from the beginning of the movie, the "Do you feel lucky?" line, and yeah, he just takes out Scorpio. It's full circle. He saves the day. He does end up taking care of business at the end of the movie.
Um, one thing I forgot at the end of this one
Hmm.
is that Harry has his badge and he throws his badge into like the ravine.
That's right. Yeah.
And I'm like, I mean, that's implying that he's quitting and like he's like, I'm not gonna be a cop anymore. Like, this is
Hmm.
bullshit type of thing. But obviously he does.
Yes. Yeah. We've seen. There's more movies here. How do
So
they
it's like,
explain that in the next one?
well, like, because that's like he throws the badge and then credits go. So I just imagine like 30 minutes later, he's just like, oh crap. And then just like,
Shit. Yeah, wait, if I'm not a cop, then everything I just did will put me in prison for
oh
life.
wait,
You got me get the
oh man,
badge.
he just like just sits there and just like, I got all these bills to pay. Oh darn. And just
Yeah, could you
jumps in there.
imagine? Yeah, that's the epilogue I want. Him coming home to finding like a bill, like or a parking ticket. He's like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
gotta I gotta have a paycheck.
It just like
Um
goes back to the ravine with like a flashlight and like splashing in the water.
yeah. But no, I think Dirty Harry's it's a fun movie. It's a classic for a reason. I think it's a solid cop movie. I think what really makes it work though, Clint Eastwood. Clint
Yeah,
Eastwood does this role so well, and it's just it wouldn't be the same movie without him.
right. I
Yeah.
totally agree. I think it's a really fun movie. It's a prototype to a lot of action movies to come in like the
Hmm.
80s.
Hmm.
Um, even though he is like a real like surly kind of like really mean type of guy, underneath all that, like that's more of like a front really
Hmm.
than more than anything. So, um, I really like Clint Eastwood in this movie. And this one is a fun one to watch. So I would definitely recommend it.
Yeah, yeah, I'd recommend it too. I do really quickly have to say that Frank Sinatra and John Wayne were both offered roles for this movie. And it'd be a very different experience. But also, once again, Clint Eastwood wasn't even first choice, second, third, fourth choice. Robert Mitchum, Steve McQueen, and Burt Lancaster were asked. George C. Scott read the script, said it was too violent. He wouldn't take it. And that doesn't even go into directors. Irvin Kershner and Sidney Pollack they were both supposed to direct this movie. Terrence Malick wrote the script. Like he helped write the script at one point, and I know you would have loved that. Uh, yeah,
Of
I
course.
this movie was in the making for years and years, and it was hell to make. And I think, sometimes that's the right choice because it went into the right hands. Without this director, without Clint Eastwood, it wouldn't be what it is today. But anyway, to end on that, Ryan, what are we covering on Thursday?
Well, Nathan, we're going to go back to the Gamera series.
Yes.
Yes, we are going to continue Gamera with the very next Gamera movie from 1995, Gamera the Guardian of the universe, and that one is streaming for free on Tubi right now.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited to watch that one. And if you want to email us, you can email us at driveandoublefeaturepodcast@gmail.com. And be sure to check out our Patreon. But until next time.
Until next time.